You're listening to Supervision with a Vision, where we discuss all things supervision. I'm your host, Sarah, professional counselor, marriage and family therapist, play therapist, eating disorder specialist, and cookie lover, with my co-host, Heather, marriage and family therapist, certified Together in Texas counselor, a Texas transplant from California, and outdoor adventurer. Hi, welcome to Supervision with a Vision. Today, Heather and I are talking about how gaslighting can affect a work environment for counselors.
We want to talk about what gaslighting is. It's more than just making someone feel bad. There's intentional manipulation. It goes on for a long period of time usually. And it has the person that it's happening to feel bad about themselves and question what they're thinking.
Oh, I think the questioning part is important.
Right.
An important component.
Right. They start self-doubting. They're wondering who they really are.
Heather, you said it happens over a long period of time. Do you think that means that it happens in relationships? It can't just happen, or it doesn't as easily happen with someone you don't know?
Right. Generally speaking, it happens in relationships. Today we're focusing on workplace relationships, but it can happen in dating relationships. It can happen in your marriage. It can happen in all sorts of relationships.
Our article today is The 7 Signs of Gaslighting in Your Workplace. Psychology Today's article published 2020. First point we're going to talk about is that gaslighting reinforces groupthink. So can you think of some ways that this has happened to you before? Gaslighting reinforcing groupthink?
As a very young green intern, worked at a place, they were pretty judgy about other people there that didn't go to the same church, didn't join the same groups. And I didn't pick up on it for a while because, I was just too young and green, focused on what I was supposed to be doing.
Well, and maybe that's some of the nature of gaslighting that you just defined.
Right. Just was unaware of it. That was an interesting experience.
I also thought of some examples that aren't very current. I was thinking about all of the horrible fashion trends that I got involved in. Probably pre-teeny was when I fell into most of those. Totally dates me. High-heeled jelly shoes.
Ooh, yes. So special.
Why did anybody think those were a great idea? They hurt your feet so bad.
But they were so pretty and sparkly.
And sparkly. That was the real
selling
point. Right. Can you think of any fashion trends that you look back on now and think, why did we all think that was so great?
You had to have the flower bangs where you curled like half your bangs up and half your bangs down.
Yes.
And I used to spend hours and a whole bunch of hairspray on trying to make them look really specific.
Now do you look back at those school pictures and go, whoa.
What happened there? I probably spent 3 hours on my hair for it to look like that. And every girl in the yearbook looks identical.
Yes. Oh, maybe about the same time. There were these shoes that just had to be had. They were soft leather black tennis shoes.
Oh, yes.
Man, I had to have those. And I had a couple of friends that had them. And not often did I get to follow all the fashion trends, just really because of cost. But my parents got me these shoes. And worst thing ever, we went on a family vacation and I left them. And I didn't realize it until almost like halfway home. We hadn't actually gotten home yet, but we couldn't go back.
Right.
And I realized I didn't have them. And my mom was so upset. And she said, "Oh, you just made some little kid very happy." And I went, "Oh, they're gone. Some other examples of groupthink that come to mind. Have you ever had a favorite teacher, or maybe there was a favorite camp counselor that everyone just loved, but for what reason exactly?
Right.
I can't even think back to why that was the best camp counselor or why that was the best teacher, but they were.
Do you know that I had an experience with my daughter really early on, elementary school age? There was a teacher that I had heard was this phenomenal teacher. And this teacher was just the it teacher, and you wanted your kid.
Sure, you got to have them.
So she was a lucky one, and she got in this class, and 2 weeks into school, I don't know if we can hack it. I don't know if I personally as a mom can handle this teacher's style, but also, why do people like this teacher? It was a unique experience. We stayed with the class.
Wow.
I wasn't all in at the very beginning.
Yeah. So not everyone's preferences will meet your preferences. Right. I did think of one work experience example that I could share. Really early on, probably right out of school, I worked for a hospital. I was the youngest out of the bunch. So I just kind of followed suit. Whatever everybody else told me to do or did, I was doing too.
So common. I think all of our supervisees probably do that.
Sure. I didn't know any. I just thought this is how you do it. I'm learning. They had pizza day for the staff. To get to eat pizza, you had to go and sit in medical records and eat pizza at lunchtime. And someone in medical records would bring you a stack of charts. This is, again, dates me. We
right.
all had paper charts.
Right.
They would bring you a stack of paper charts, and while you ate, you had to sign notes and things that you'd
Right.
missed and
Fix
correct
this.
date,
Right.
make sure the date was on every page, things like that. I thought, oh, great, a pizza. And I did that, I think 3 times before I got to the bottom of my stack and had corrected all of my charts. And then they just brought me another stack.
Like, of not yours.
Right. Then I realized that, well, this isn't mine. But I thought, well, they flagged all these little things with little stickies. I'll do all the ones that I can do.
Right. Like a date or like a.
Right. Put in, some little, complete the form
Mhm.
somewhere. But I left the things that weren't mine, signatures, things like that. What really caught me, though, was when I realized no one else was doing the same thing. They were just signing, dating, everything.
Moving on. Didn't matter whose chart was in
Right.
front
So it
of you.
didn't matter if they'd ever seen that client before. And then I went, wait, why is everybody acting like this is okay?
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe this is not okay.
Right. This is maybe not the right thing.
Right. So it took me a while to catch on to that one.
Right.
Just like high-heeled jelly shoes.
Right. You
Yeah.
had to own a few pair before you were like, why?
Enough blisters, and I went, okay, I'm done. Our second point in this article that we're discussing today is that gaslighting damages professional reputations. Do you think
Yes.
that you've ever been involved in or close to a situation where gaslighting impacted a professional reputation?
I had worked in a treatment facility. My supervisor was burnt out and did not like the new girl coming in with all these great, wonderful ideas to do
Energetic
it different.
ideas.
Never, no matter what I did in that position, I was not going to get a good review. My supervisor was taking credit for all the things that we had changed at the lower level.
Was your direct supervisor gaslighting you?
Yes.
Maybe similar to your example where I was the person who kind of in the middle of gaslighting.
Right.
Same place as pizza day.
As pizza place.
So I was young, also bright-eyed and
Mhm.
energetic and lots of ideas, and not always were those ideas appreciated.
Right.
And left there, went on, moved on to different job, but still had some occasion where I'd interact with the people from
Right.
that
Just
because
like
we'd run into
cross
each
paths.
other.
Right.
And I remember at one point I came back to the facility, and while I was there, I swung by somebody's office and stepped in and said hi. We had, I think, a mutual client at the time, or someone we knew, a client we knew in common, and chit chatted. And that person said, "You have grown up so much." And I thought, I am going to appreciate that
Right.
comment for what their intent was, but I knew right then, as soon as that person said it, that the meaning was when I was there, I wasn't appreciated
Mhm. Right.
the way that she was able to appreciate me from
Yeah.
a distance,
Right.
with more space,
Mhm.
with more time in between. Do you think the gaslighting that happened when I was there impacted my reputation? And the way that that reputation was able to change was that I came back and I had different interactions and different
Right.
relationships. But
Right.
had I not, I think that same reputation could have or would have continued with a negative opinion
Mhm.
of my work or my interactions with
Right.
coworkers.
Well, and it can be the simplest of things. I mean, we're working in a field where often we have other professionals we're engaging with and reaching out to.
Mhm.
And it can be really damaging if they have cemented opinion of who
Mhm.
you were then
Mhm.
or whatever someone else has shared with them and haven't
Sure.
really based it off their own experience.
Right. The other thing I thought about, and it connects absolutely with what you just said, the treatment facilities that are well known around town and the reputation they have.
Right.
Some of those reputations are really crummy.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have better reputations. And where have those come from? What
Right.
are they made up of?
Right.
Have I ever personally referred to every single one of those or interacted with them on a level where I could actually know what kind of work they do? Or am I getting some of that from a reputation that they have or
Right.
someone's opinion?
Right. Or sometimes it's even based off one client's opinion. Like you have one client that did really great in that program,
Mhm.
but it's not necessarily great for your next client.
Right. The third point that we're discussing in our article today, gaslighting in our workplace ignores positives.
I think that happens all too often. And unfortunately, we're in a society where a lot of things are measured and things to be accountable for, especially if you're in a treatment facility or a hospital setting versus private practice.
Mhm.
One of the examples I'm thinking of came from a supervisee. She was working at a place, they tracked everything down to how many times have you used that diagnostic code.
Wow.
Down to, they tracked everything. And she just felt so under the microscope all the time. She never got the, you're doing great. Every time she had an expectation expectation that a client was about to discharge, someone would find a way to keep that client on for longer.
Oh, tell me if this fits. I was thinking you were describing a gotcha environment.
Yes.
If there's a lot of keeping track of things or managing accountability, that's useful and needed, but there are times
Right.
where it can feel detrimental to what you're trying to do, and it feels like a gotcha situation. They're trying to catch you doing something.
And it takes away from the opportunities for there to be good things. If the focus isn't, you didn't hit your number of clients for the month. If that's the focus.
Well, I think also plenty of not just counseling organizations, but companies manage based on, did you do something correctly?
Right.
Or they only catch the thing when something's wrong.
Right.
And so then the only time you hear from a supervisor or someone in a different department is to say, you did that wrong.
Right.
It creates a situation where positives are ignored.
Right.
I was thinking, I talked before about how I try when clients are leaving treatment or discharging from a counselor, that I try and get that counselor to think about a positive, something they were really proud of and did well, and something that they have learned from the situation and are taking away from it. Sometimes my whole job as a supervisor at that point is to help reframe all the crummy negative thinking that counselor's doing. So they say something like, I had to call the parent 5 times to talk to them about staying in treatment. That sounds like a negative, but I think it means that you had great collaboration with the parents. That's so important that you had lots of contact. You're engaging them in treatment. Great job.
Right.
It takes work to reframe
You have to
that.
find that. Right.
Heather, our 4th point in our article this week is gaslighting entrenches people in negative relationships.
The other phrasing that comes to mind, something I learned at a place I work, they called it disordered culture, meaning gets real entrenched with the us versus them mentality. That disordered, they were using that specifically because it was a mental health place. It affects all of those relationships so deeply that it affects the whole culture of where you're working. Not in a groupthink way, but it just feels, you're walking in and it's one more, here we go again, the grind of it just being negative.
Like you can feel the energy drain.
Right.
I was thinking, I notice this when people start to use the same turns of phrase or the same phrase over and over again when talking about clients or talking about a work dynamic. I can't think of any specifically, but I know that I've been in meetings before or rounding on clients as a team, and maybe we say the same phrase to describe someone with a specific diagnosis.
Right.
It's kind of even embarrassing to say, I'm glad I wasn't leading this team of clinicians. Part of their rounding was that they would mimic the voice of clients. Or that they would kind of joke or be dismissive of the client's behavior or their symptoms. It just became so systemic. It was part of what they did every single time that they rounded on those clients, which makes me think of the other thing I think about when people are entrenched in negative relationships. I think I'm actually pretty good at this. I am pretty good at coyote uglying my work friends. Which we talked about, what does coyote ugly mean? It means, how do you slip away from someone or disappear in a casual way from a social situation or a person that you don't want to be connected with anymore. And I think that I do that in a work situation if maybe I've got a group of lunch friends and I realize the discussion has just gotten really negative.
And it's going to repeat itself again. You just
We've just gotten in this pattern where, what do? We sit down, how was your weekend? And we jump into complaining about a specific person. Or we jump into complaining about chart audits or something that's just frustrating or upsetting. And I am quick to find a reason not to eat lunch with those people.
You're like, oh, I scheduled an extra client.
or maybe to change how I spend time with them. That I want to spend time with you, but we're going to go for a walk around the block. Actually, that sounds kind of nice. Instead of sitting and eating lunch together where we might end up talking about these same things, what if we eat our lunch and then we spend the rest of our time walking around the building outside and get some fresh air, and just that little bit of change could maybe change the conversation?
Absolutely.
Yes, I definitely slip away, get away from those conversations, because it does drain my energy and I feel like it changes the rest of my day.
Right. If you get on that bad pattern in the middle of your day and then you're stuck in that same way of being all day long, it just drains any kind of extra energy you have for your afternoon or your evening clients.
So, Heather, I think we're describing that gaslighting, one, affects the two of us as counselors and probably lots of our other counselor peers and friends, but also that can find its way into supervision as well. And that we would really be doing our associates, interns a service by helping them to identify these situations and to teach them how to coyote ugly some gaslighting work situations.
I love love it. That's great.
Thanks today for listening to Supervision with a Vision. You've been listening to Supervision with a Vision. Head on over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Therapy Academy to join the conversation and get show notes. We'll be back next week with more Supervision with a Vision.